Alright, what is up, everybody? We are here once again. I am darkalexandr. We are going to be playing King of Dragons, one of my all-time favorite games, a brilliant arcade port from Capcom. We're going to be playing the normal run today. 4 different difficulties to play on. The normal is definitely the most competitive of the categories, but all of them are definitely worth a play. They all kind of give their nice twist to things. You got 5 different characters to choose from, but there's only one that we tend to use for the speed run because he is just head and shoulders above everybody else. But without too much further ado, we're going to go ahead and fire this thing up. So let's get things started. We are going to be picking our friend the wizard, and 3, 2, 1, go! So right off the bat, this is a beautiful arcade port. They do have the arcade version available on the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, so a lot more people have been able to get their hands on it recently. But we are going to be digging through these chests a little bit, because we want to be finding things like this lightning orb here. So we want to keep an eye out on what these drops are looking like. There's a few different drop seeds. There's 4 different patterns we can get for all of the drops in the game. Hey, we actually got a bonus orb. Don't really need it, but you're going to see why these orbs are so valuable coming up here right now. Ooh, and it's an apple seed. That's unfortunate. So that apple there, oops. Not mean to do that split there. Undo split. So the apple is going to tell us that we are going to get an upgrade late, coming up here in a couple of stages. Going to slow us down a little bit. There's 4 different seeds that'll basically tell you where your upgrades are going to happen, where all of the orbs and chests are going to be, as well as where any of the bonus credits are going to be. So we do have our level 2 weapon here. We are able to one-shot some of these orcs. So we're going to take advantage of that. Take a little bit of extra health here. So we've got this frog orb. We're not going to be able to get through this boss here quite as quickly, unfortunately, because the frog doesn't do quite the damage that we're looking for like the other element orbs. So those are one of the big sources of RNG, is the random orb drops we can get. Certain enemies can actually drop those, and much like you saw with that first boss there who died in one shot to it, they do tons of damage to the bosses, and they'll kill 3 to 4 enemies on screen depending on what kind of an orb it is, or sometimes 0 in the case of the meteor orb, but we're not going to hold it against it. Oh, I split again. I'm going to have a hard time not doing that for the next 30 minutes. Cruising into stage 3 here. This is one of the trickier ones right off the bat to optimize, just because of the way that the enemies spawn on either sides. A lot of room to work with here, and they throw a few more enemies at you than you're used to seeing in the first couple here. So we've got another frog orb. We are going to try to do a little bit of a glitch here if we can pull it off, just because we do have that frog orb to work with. We'll see if we can make it happen. Very, very tricky. I'm not sure of a super consistent setup, but the frog is the main thing that we have seen that has helped us out with this. That might slow us down there a little bit. Probably too early to advance into it, but we'll see if it works. We weren't quite able to do it. So if you're able to turn those guys into frogs at just the right spot, just as one of the frogs is despawning and you start the fight with the wyvern, you can actually despawn his head. So all of the ground stages, he won't actually be able to use his breath weapon, and he'll just be a headless torso running around. Always fun to see, but very, very tricky to actually get the timing down on that one. It's not something that I practiced very heavily, so we had to take the shot at it. It's worth losing a few seconds to give it. So you'll notice that the wizard is getting kind of up close and personal with all of these guys. There is a bit of fall-off damage, even though he does have a ranged attack. The the main thing that we're wanting to focus on is that we can get up close to do full damage with the weapon for particular enemies, get inside their guard. Because some of them do have the ability to block or parry, and that can get you into some really tricky spots. So this is where we're going to start seeing the repercussions of the seed that we're on. We're not going to be getting a weapon upgrade, we'll get an armor upgrade instead, so that will slow us down for this boss fight. Unfortunately, it's one of the trollier boss fights in the run. Hey, bonus orb, we'll take that. Yes, this is a fabulous co-op run. This stage in particular is the only one that actually has any sort of what I would consider a glitch or an exploit in it. We can actually skip a big chunk of this stage in the co-op mode by doing a pretty careful enemy despawn. So that's one nice difference there. But it's really a fabulous playthrough, especially with all 5 of the characters to choose from. There's tons of variety. Hey, we get another bonus orb there. That's going to help us out with our Hydra fight. Let's go. We're going to pop these 2 chests here. We want to try to get as much of the gold off the screen as possible, just because of how much lag it'll generate with all 3 of these heads. We're able to take out one of those heads right off the bat thanks to that fire orb, so we are happy about that, because this guy is a jerk. Anytime they're doing that dive attack, they're completely invincible, and they can just choose to do that over and over again. Ooh, that's an unfortunate hit. So we will take a death there. Not that big of a deal, and we're able to finish him off at the same time. I remember to not split this time, so good for me. And then this guy shows up. Not really sure where he was the whole time. Always been kind of a mystery. But he's going to clue us into more of the lore of Gildas. And we have a nice boat ride over to the island. We'll get our weapon upgrade here. Oops. Did not mean to pop that chest. That was a mistake. So we'll not be able to get that frog orb to the end of the boat ride, but that's fine. If we time our hits very carefully, we can one-shot all of these skeletons. It is a luxury we will only experience for this one particular stage. These guys are otherwise big jerks. You can tell some of the times we'll hit them and they'll just bounce back. That means they're going to need at least one more hit for us to take them out. They also have the ability to block and to parry, so it makes them a real pain to deal with. On the harder difficulties especially, they do tons and tons of damage. That was rude. We're just going to juggle this merfolk here real quick. Don't really need the banana, but we're going to take it anyway. On to stage 6, the landing after the boat. So we do have one guaranteed orb there in that chest. Don't really need it, but we'll take it anyway. We're going to take out these couple of orcs real quick. We want a 3rd bird to spawn. We were able to get all 3 of them, so that's going to prevent any more of those harpies from actually spawning. Oop, that's not where our credit is. You're going to pick up all 3 extra credits just for funsies, so everybody can see where they are in case they haven't played through this all the way. Highly recommended if you haven't. It's a great game to play with a friend. We're going to wait for these guys to spawn. We want to watch out for those spears. They do a lot of damage. And it really starts to throw a lot of the skeletons at us. That jump attack is super dangerous, especially when you're surrounded on both sides. They're just not being friendly with me right now. So, we had the Minotaur fight earlier. This is his brother, the golden child of the family. Unfortunately, he's not going to stand much of a chance to us. We are going to let him land there real quick, just to kind of cut down the bounce animation. If you actually let him die off screen, he will bounce like a beach ball. It's kind of wild, but it'll eat a whole bunch of time, and you just sit there watching him tick away. There's another very tricky segment, this climb up here towards the Cyclops fight. Got to fight through many waves of enemies, and this one really piles on the skeletons, so we're going to try to take advantage. We don't have a lot of health to work with, but we are going to try to despawn some of these guys with a little bit of our magic. We can blast them off the screen and then use our lightning to push them even further, make them bounce back. We can actually get past that without having to fight most of them, so that was actually a pretty nice segment there. And you'll see they're able to actually block my magic attack with their sword. Not really sure how that one works, but we're just going to kind of go with it. And we'll just try to clear these guys out with a little bit of magic. One shot and then a hit from our weapon is usually enough to take them out at this point, but sometimes it takes 2 magics and a hit. They're really just a pain. There's no other way around it. And one more hit on that jerk skeleton. So coming into the Cyclops fight here, he's going to jump up and try to grab a boulder to throw at our heads, but we're not going to let him. We can actually despawn that boulder by using our magic after he's grabbed it. Always nice, because then he just looks like a doofus there, throwing nothing but air. Got a little bit of range to work with. We can just kind of play hopscotch with that boulder, and we take a big fist to the face. That happens. So taking a few more deaths here at this point than I would want to. We are trying to kind of calculate where we take our deaths because we do get a guaranteed orb if we continue. So the speedrun does take advantage of that in a few different places. But it's one of the fun parts about routing this game out is everyone's going to play out a little bit differently depending on how well you're doing maintaining your lives, or in some cases actually trying to tank a few lives without losing too much time. So we got a lot of slimes to deal with. We're actually going to use this orb here to take out this whole screen. Oh, and that guy wasn't playing nice. So we did actually hit him at the time that the orb was exploding, so his hitbox wasn't active, which is a little unfortunate. We could have gotten through there a bit quicker. We are able to one-shot some of these skeletons if we hit them at the right time. Otherwise, they have full health, so not a bad segment there. We're going to try to get this orb a little bit further into the stage. And we're not going to quite make it to where I wanted it to go. So it died just short of these lizards, and it's because I ended up popping that chest just a little bit early. This is a very, very hard stage to optimize because there's a lot of things that can go wrong in it. It's very, very timing sensitive if you want to get that orb all the way down to the lizards. You're a little reliant on luck at some points. So, here on the giant spider fight, we're just going to kind of try to stay in the air. It keeps us safe at pretty much all times. He's only got 2 real moves as he'll drop down and spit acid, which sticks to the ground a little bit, kind of like the green Hydra. Or the dive attack there where he tries to grab us. But if we keep jumping, he's never going to be able to pick us up. So we just do free damage to him, and we save our good friend the tree here. He was once full of spiders, but now he's full of gratitude. You're welcome, tree. Happy to be of service. So we're going to be getting an armor upgrade from our friend the tree. And off to the castle. We're going to be seeing a lot more of these lizard folks. We've actually found ourselves in a pretty decent spot here. Depending on the seed we get, we would get a weapon upgrade from Tree that we often end up skipping because the level 4 weapon tends to be a lot more effective against these lizard folk. Took quite a bit of testing to figure that out. But it just gives us a little bit more room to work with because the next weapon up is a fire staff that actually breaks its damage up into a couple of different hits. But these lizard folk tend to be invincible after they take that first hit, so they don't always take full damage from it. These archers here have the highest chance to drop a bonus orb for us in the game, and they're always one shot, so we always take the chance to kill them when we have the opportunity. Fortunately, no extra luck there. That's fine. We've got the meteor orb here. It's a notorious troll. It can kill everything on the screen or sometimes just not do anything and waste 5 seconds, so we'll see what we get. Got one lizard. It did one hit to this other guy, so we're just going to have to kind of play cleanup. Ouch. And that's where the lizards really get tricky. Much like the skeletons, they can parry, and once they parry, they can actually attack right away, so you can find yourself in a pretty nasty loop there. A lot of times you'll end up just, you'll both end up mashing attack until one of you inevitably fails, and often, or more often than not, the wizard is the one on the losing end of that stick. It's the price you pay for being up close and personal. The Dragon Rider fight here, sort of like the spider fight, we can spend a lot of time in the air to keep ourselves safe from his breath attack. See, I split again. If I would have known, I would have hotkeyed an undo split button, but I know I'll just abuse it when I don't want to. So we are going to grab this level 5 weapon here. If we did not grab that, it would make our lives an absolute nightmare coming up on the Wraith fight for the next stage. But I'll explain that when we get to it. So, a couple of chests hidden back here. We've got another frog orb and some more archers. We're going to take them out with some magic. It's one of the reasons that we play with the wizard is his magic is so much more powerful. He does end up getting the strongest attack in the game towards the end of the game. But most of the run, his magic will carry us through this pretty handily, just with how much damage that does to the bosses and to normal enemies. He also gets a little bit bonus damage for his orbs as well, which is why they're so effective against the bosses. It's one of the key features of the co-op run. Yeah, he starts off a little bit slow. His earlier weapons are a little underpowered, and they fall off really, really hard at range, but we're going to try to skip these guys. We'll just let that green lizard bolt off to the left. He doesn't want to play at all. We're able to skip quite a few enemies back there, which is nice, because there's a lot of lizards to deal with. And round 3 of the Dragon Rider fight, because of course, if you had one boss fight that worked out fine, just make him a mini-boss in the next stage. Boom, you got twice as long of a stage. Not a bad Dragon Rider fight. Took a little bit more damage than I would have liked. We do have a big health pot there. These spear guys are kind of nice. If you can intercept their charge with an attack, they'll always dive, and you can use the iframes to get past them without taking any damage. We are at a high enough level now where our magic can one-shot those skeletons, so that's pretty big. For the most part, you can ignore experience drops. All they really do is just serve to give us the occasional extra life, but the magic damage actually does scale with your level and not your upgrades, which is kind of nice, but that plays a much bigger role in the expert run. We can use that to get ourselves up to level 9 and start one-shotting the skeletons with our magic a little bit early. This ninja fight here, he also has the ability to block our magic, but every time he jumps, he's completely open, so we abuse that to the best of our ability. Now that the wizard's starting to get a little bit more life to work with, we can be a little bit more aggressive with our magic. This is Jerk Knight. He couldn't do his job and protect the princess, so he's going to send us to do it, and we will never see him again. So thanks a lot, guy. We're going to be introducing another new enemy here in this stage. One of the harder ones, definitely the highest life of all of the other enemies in the game, is these mummies. So kind of an interesting mechanic. They've got this bounce back depending on how you hit them. If we actually bounce them back all the way to the left side, we can hopefully despawn them, and it looks like I did with one of them. Couldn't quite make it happen with that guy, though. We do have this hidden chest here. That is 1 extra credit for us, that Yashishi symbol. Now that I'm thinking about it, I did miss one on the climb up to the Cyclops, because I was too busy trying to despawn the skeletons, so I'll take that as worth it. We don't need all 3 extra credits here. So the Wraith fight here, one of the longer boss fights, but usually not too super difficult. We're going to go ahead and take an intentional death there because we do need to have some extra life starting the next stage, or it'll slow us down quite a bit. So we're just going to go ahead and take our shot there. But this boss fight is mostly just a pattern of trying to wait until his hitbox is active and keep him stunned as much as possible. So we do get a bit of invincibility frames after he takes a hit, so we can avoid getting hit by one of the other ghosts. But also having the fire weapon here at this point will make it a little bit easier to take out those scythe that they're throwing. The level 5 weapon is not perfect for this. We could have the level 6 weapon on one of the other seeds, so it's 1 extra hit per bar of health, but not the end of the world. If we did somehow get here with the level 4 weapon, it would go from taking 5 to 6 hits per bar all the way up to 23 hits per bar of health. Not sure how the damage scale worked on that one, but it was completely broken. So I found that out the hard way one day, and that fight ended up taking 3.5 minutes, something like that. Pretty ridiculous. So this is why we wanted to have some extra health going in here, so we can just spam some magic through all of those skeletons. Save ourselves a whole lot of headache. That is not fun to do with just the fire staff. And we get a bonus orb there. We're going to use that on these lizards here, so we don't have to deal with them. We're going to go ahead and be a little liberal with our magic here. We might try to set it up so we can take a death on the Dragonian and get an orb to use on him, but might not be worth it at this point. We'll see what luck gives us. And the lizard actually cooperated, so we didn't have to worry too much about that one. We're going to go ahead and take a death there just because we do want to have our life closer to full, and we get a bonus orb. Huzzah! That's 2 bonus orbs, because we do have 1 guaranteed one just because of the seed that we're on. So we're going to try... Oh my goodness! We actually... Wow, that's so many orbs. So we are going to use this fire orb first, and this guy is just in for a really rough day right now. So the lightning orb can hit him off the screen, and wow, that was ridiculous. So many orbs. I wish I had my splits going, because that would have been the goldest Goldar fight in the entire universe. That was ridiculous. I don't think I've ever had... I don't think I've ever had a Dragonian fight that went like that. So, we in very short order saved the princess, Jerk Knight's quest is completed, and we can get on with our own mission. Thank you very much. With all of that hullabaloo, we do still have half of our life bar on this one last credit, so we're going to try to save that for this next boss fight coming up here after one more Dragon Rider fight, because why not throw a third one at it? We're going to hope to see a couple extra bonus orbs here, but we might have just blown all of our orb luck on that last stage. I'm not going to complain about it. Sometimes those archers can spawn a second time and give us another chance at a orb drop, but we're not going to get one from the skeletons. It just doesn't work that way. So, coming up on the double ninja fight, because if 1 was good, 2 has got to be better. They call themselves Royal Knights, but we know they're ninjas. They're throwing shurikens, they're jumping around, they got ninja swords, they're ninjas. So that was our first continue. We got our guaranteed orb there, and just like before, we're gonna wait until they're either trying to throw their shurikens or trying to jump over us, and we're just gonna use our magic. So we wait till they jump to use that orb so we can guarantee that it does as much damage as possible. And actually a pretty clean double ninja fight. Those guys can be super trolly. If they get really happy with their running around, they can just bolt off the screen and disappear for many seconds at a time. No, so this is not going to be a 1cc run, but for the speedrun purposes, we actually, we don't strive that hard for the 1cc. It is significantly slower to do so. But we don't have official categories for it, but we do have a spreadsheet that we track all of our, like, other character runs, any kind of 1cc or high score attempts we put on there, challenge runs, 1 player 2 controllers we've done before, so... A lot of different ways to play it, much like any good speed game, but not everything needs to have a leaderboard on speedrun.com. We just play the game the way it makes us happy. So we're able to carry this orb all the way here to Baby Mage, and we're gonna make short work of him with that. Just one quick hit there, and he is done for. And off to the Dark Wizard fight. The actual magical evildoer here. So we're gonna try to give ourselves a little bit of space here and set up for a pretty clean fight. We're gonna use the iframes from our magic here to avoid some of this damage. We don't have much health to work with, so I'm just gonna try to shimmy out of the way. He's keeping his distance. He's not bouncing too much. Unfortunately, I was a little slow on the uptick there, so I couldn't quite get away from that. But now I have magic to work with, so we can actually despawn his little shield attack there. Sort of like Woodman and Mega Man 2. He's got a shield that he'll just throw at you. But kind of like with the Cyclops fight earlier, we can actually despawn the sprites on there and the attack doesn't do anything. So, easy peasy. We got our level 7 weapon here. We're going to have it for all of about 30 seconds before we get our next one, but just in time for some more Merfolk. So these guys definitely have a lot more health than they did back on stage 5, but that is to be expected. So we're going to just try to juggle them with a little bit of our magic and our staff. Fortunately, I dropped that one. I couldn't quite get out of his way, but we'll be able to set this one up all right. Just kind of bounce back and forth between these two guys. And back and forth. Oh, and that's unfortunate. So I was a little late on the hit there, and he got his poke in on me. We'll just clean him up with some magic there, no big deal. And we've got our level 8 weapon, and oh my goodness, is it a sight to behold. This lightning is just so ridiculously overpowered. It does a ton of damage, even at range. It's got a huge reach on the weapon, and really just makes the rest of this game so much more manageable. So, in classic refight fashion, we'll just throw a fresh coat of paint on there and rack up another wyvern fight. So this is the Frost Wyvern. If anybody wants to guess why that, it's because he shoots ice. Sorry, spoiler alert, but it was pretty obvious. He's blue. So this one is actually a little bit trickier because we do have these pencil guys to deal with. These little spear guys. Not trying super hard, but try just hard enough to get in your way. But they do also have a chance to drop health or experience or possibly even an orb drop. But mostly we're trying to stay out of reach of the breath weapon because it will lock us into place and leave us open to getting poked right in the face. It also, as you can see, generates quite a bit of lag, so sometimes we'll use a little bit of magic just to despawn that, because at least if we're going to take some lag, we might as well do some damage in the midst of it. Yep, this wyvern studied at the school of Sub-Zero. It's absolutely true. It's in the book. So, run into our friends the dwarves. Not unsuspicious at all, standing outside of the cave they would normally be living in. No mention as to why. I guess they just needed some fresh air. Could be the whole host of monsters that's in here. But no, that's fine. Just point us through. No, there's a dragon through there, I swear. It'll be easy. Just walk on by. We'll be out here. Some more mummies to deal with. Hoping to despawn some of them, but not so much luck on that one. Fortunately, with our super overpowered lightning staff, it's usually 4 to 5 hits, depending on if they take full damage or not. The one downside to the bounces is the enemies don't always take full damage when that happens. These guys will be able to make pretty quick work of. One last lightning shot to take out all those guys, and then we've got not one eyes, but 2 to deal with. 2 Cyclops. Much like before, we'll be taking advantage of the fact that we can despawn their boulder with our magic. We'll do damage to both of them at the same time. In a perfect world, we'd like to take them both out at the same time because it generates a ton of lag when all of the items spawn, but it's not the end of the world. It's kind of difficult to set those up. You really just got to take your shots where you can. I'm not going to split here. So one more fight to go, the final encounter with old Gildas, the Red Dragon. So stage 16 is just a walkabout. You try to tempt us with all kinds of shiny jewels and the worst disguised mimics of all time. So don't mind the purple chests. They're just sitting there. Nothing suspicious at all. And we'll grab our last upgrade because we skipped it in the previous stage. And pretty epic final boss fight that is made fairly trivial thanks to the magic and invincibility frames of the wizard. Did get another level there. Good time for it before things get too crazy. So Gildas' breath weapon does a ton of damage. It's enough to kill us in 2 hits, so we're going to try to interrupt that with our magic whenever we can. We do also have the advantage of reach on him. Our staff can actually damage him outside of his breath weapons range, which is pretty ridiculous for a final boss. But for the most part, we're just going to be alternating our lightning attacks and our magic attacks. Trying to get as much damage on him as quickly as possible. Get him through these phases. We're going to take a hit there, that's fine. We may or may not get to this this last continue orb. No, we didn't. There's our extend. It's usually how it works out is you'll get 1 more extra life at the time you don't really need it. So we're setting ourselves up here. You can kind of alternate between the head and the hand, depending on which one is making itself more convenient for damaging, but they both take damage. So the safest way to deal with them is just get to the top of the screen and post up in the corner. That was a little aggressive, but we got away with it. I was worried I was going to jump directly into the fire. So 1 more breath weapon here. We'll be able to kind of lock them up with this last life that we have in our holster. A couple more hits. Nice end pose. And time will be in about 14 seconds here once he dies. We just have to do our last bit of looting. And 1 final ho! And that is King of Dragons. We have vanquished the evil dragon Gildas and walked away with a giant pile of gold. We get to face this nice overlook of the kingdom we just saved from everybody. And off into the sunset as soon as the sun sets. But thank you very much, everybody, for the GGs. Really appreciate you all coming out and hanging out with this. Thank you so much to Elrock for those awesome runs before. The games were being exceptionally gamey, but made the best of it. Up next, we've got Melfan Stories, a game I am not familiar with, but definitely interested in checking it out as long as I can stay awake. So, but anybody who hasn't had a chance to see this game before, highly recommend you go and give it a shot. Throw it on your emulator if you got it. You know, just sit down with a buddy if you can and try to play through the game. We've got a lot of resources on speedrun.com for it. I've got all of my notes, all of the drop seeds, all of the credits are outlined with pictures and everything. So I tried to make it as easy as possible for people to get into it because really just want to see more people playing this game. It's just so very good. Amazing job they did porting this over to the SNES, but the beat 'em up bundles also got the arcade version available for everybody on several different platforms, so definitely don't sleep on it. Go and give it a try. It's the perfect game to spend an afternoon with. So all that being said, I am out of here. Thank you so much for all the support, and we will catch you guys next time.